At precisely 2:17 a.m., every night for the past 6 weeks, Dana wakes up screaming, not from a dream, but from a life she doesn't remember living. A burned driver's license, a child's toy buried behind the drywall, and a whisper she hears in her own voice. You did this. She's never had children. She's never been married. She's never been to Nebraska. But the house she lives in says otherwise. The movers were long gone, but Dana couldn't bring herself to unpack. The boxes sat like tombstones across the hardwood floor of her new house in Ledgewood, Nebraska, a town she'd never heard of until 2 months ago, when her psychiatrist suggested a clean start. Dr. Reynolds had said her dissociative amnesia was improving. The pasture had been a blur since the accident, fragments, really. Just enough to function, not enough to feel whole. She'd signed the papers for the house herself, apparently. Picked it out online, paid cash. The lawyer verified it twice, but she had no memory of it. The house smelled like pine and something older, muskier. The kind of smell that lived in floorboards and secrets. It was a 2-story colonial, chipped shutters, faded siding. Cheap. Too cheap. But beautiful in the way things were before they're understood. That night, she heard the whisper again. It came at 2:17 a.m., like before. Not a voice through the wall, no, it came from inside her head. Always the same words, not a dream. Wide awake. Heart hammering. Mouth dry. You did this. Dana shot up, drenched in sweat, fingers trembling. The clock blinked mockingly. 2:17. She couldn't breathe. She fumbled for the light, but something made her stop. Footsteps. Not above. Not below. Inside. She froze, ears straining. A light creaked near the base of the stairs. Not loud, but real. Her pulse roared in her ears. She crept out of bed, clutching the pepper spray she kept on the nightstand. But when she turned the corner into the hallway, there was nothing. No one. The next morning, she found a child's drawing under the radiator. Crayon stick figures. A house with a red door. A woman with long brown hair, like hers. A man with no face. And a child, holding something black. In the corner, scrawled in shaky handwriting, "Don't forget me, Mommy." Dana dropped the paper like it burned. She'd never had children. She was sure of that. But the nausea that twisted in her stomach said otherwise. She called Dr. Reynolds. Voicemail. She Googled the house. Nothing strange. No news stories. No reports. But when she looked at the county records, her heart stalled. The property had been purchased by a Dana Whitmore, her full legal name. 3 years ago. She'd only been released from the psychiatric hospital 11 months ago. She slammed her laptop shut. Outside, the mailbox creaked in the wind. Something white flapped inside. Dana stepped out barefoot and pulled out the envelope. No stamp. Just her name, in black marker. Inside was a Polaroid. A little girl. Blonde. Blue dress. Holding a stuffed rabbit. The photo was torn in half. The adult next to her was missing. But on the back, in the same handwriting as the drawing, "Remember what you did, or I'll make you." Dana stared at the empty field across the road, her breath fogging in the cold air. The house behind her groaned. Dana didn't sleep the next night. She sat in the kitchen with the Polaroid on the table, staring at it under the flickering light. Her hands trembled every time she touched it, as if it might bite. The girl's eyes were too direct, too knowing, like she wasn't just posing for a picture, but watching something. Dana had no recollection of her, not even the faintest flicker. But her chest ached when she looked at her, like her body remembered something her mind refused to. By morning, she decided to tear the house apart. Room by room. She started with the attic. Dust and cobwebs, old holiday decorations. Nothing out of place. The basement was worse, unfinished concrete, rusty tools, a smell of damp rot that clung to her skin. Still nothing. Then she reached the spare bedroom. The door creaked open with resistance, like it hadn't been touched in years. The room was mostly empty, just a bare mattress on the floor and a single chair facing the window. But as Dana stepped inside, her foot caught something in the rug. She bent down and pulled it back. A thin hatch, maybe 2 feet square, bolted into the floor. She pried it open. Nothing but insulation and darkness. But there was something tucked into the corner, a cloth. She reached in, feeling the scratch of fiberglass against her arms, and pulled it out. It was a stuffed rabbit. The same one from the Polaroid. Its fur was matted and dirty. One button eye missing. She backed away like it had stung her and nearly knocked over the chair. That's when she saw the wall. Behind the chair, under the window, a rough, horizontal scar ran along the plaster, like something had been patched in a hurry. The paint didn't match. The edges were too clean. She fetched a screwdriver and started scraping. The drywall crumbled easier than she expected. Beneath it, a cavity. Hollow space. Just poured out. Inside, wrapped in layers of plastic, was a small box. Wooden. Locked. Dana didn't even think. She smashed it open on the floor. Inside, a burned driver's license. Her photo. Her name. But a different address. Different state. A Florida license. From 4 years ago. Her hands shook violently. This wasn't a lost wallet. This was a life she didn't remember ever living. And under it, a birth certificate. Isabel Whitmore. DOB 06/14. Mother, Dana Whitmore. The world tilted. She dropped to her knees, while rising in her throat. She remembered nothing. Not a pregnancy. Not a baby. Not a single day. She raced to her phone, dialed Dr. Reynolds again. Still voicemail. She tried her old roommate from the hospital, Marcy. They'd promised to keep in touch. No answer. When she looked at her contacts, something was off. She only had 3 numbers saved, all under the name, Dr. Reynolds. The calls she remembered making, the check-ins, the prescriptions, they weren't in her history. Only texts. Short ones. Not yet. She's almost ready. Wait for the trigger. Dana's blood ran cold. From the living room, something creaked again. This time, it wasn't subtle. It sounded like a child's laugh. And then a whisper, not inside her head, from the hallway. Mommy. Dana ran. She didn't even know where she was going, barefoot, no coat, no phone. She tore down the gravel driveway and into the dark Nebraska road like it could spit her out into a version of life that made sense. Cold air ripped through her lungs, but the pressure behind her eyes was worse. Like something in her skull wanted out. By the time she reached the diner at the corner of County Road 12 and Grover, she was shaking uncontrollably. The waitress was pouring coffee for a trucker when she looked up. Ma'am. The woman blinked. Are you all right? Dana didn't answer. She stumbled into a booth and curled her hands into fists, whispering, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I am. The waitress slid a glass of water across the table and nodded to the cook behind the counter. He lifted the phone, his eyes never leaving Dana. Do you remember your name? The woman asked gently. Dana nodded. Dana Whitmore. But I think that's not all. She pulled the burn license from her sweater pocket and slid it across the table. The waitress examined it, then looked at Dana with fresh eyes. Recognition? Pity? You sure you don't have family? Anyone you can call? Dana shook her head. I don't remember them. The waitress opened her mouth to say something else, but the cook interrupted. Sheriff's on his way. Dana stiffened. No, she said quickly. I'm not crazy. I just don't know what's real. Someone's lying to me. Someone's been making me forget. The waitress's face darkened, unsure. You don't remember coming in here last week? Dana's stomach dropped. What? You ordered coffee. Sat in the same booth. Told me you were looking for someone. A little girl. Said her name was Isabel. Dana gripped the edge of the table. Her heart beat like a war drum. I didn't come in here. The woman stepped back. You said you were her mother. Said she'd been taken. That you used to live in that house on Crimson Ridge, but something happened and nobody believed you. The cook chimed in, arms crossed. Then you ran out screaming about someone being in the walls. Dana blinked rapidly. The room was spinning. That's not possible. I just moved in. 2 weeks ago. My therapist said I needed a new environment. The cook leaned over the counter. Lady, that house? You didn't just move in. You never left. The bell above the door jingled. The sheriff walked in tall, wide-shouldered, with a creased face and tired eyes. He looked straight at Dana and didn't ask for ID. He said, Dana, we've been looking for you since last March. She froze. I didn't disappear, she whispered. The sheriff's jaw clenched. You were supposed to testify. In the custody hearing. And then you vanished. Custody. The sheriff glanced at the cook and nodded slowly. For your daughter, Isabel. Dana's vision tunneled. Her body went numb. But I don't have a daughter, she said. The sheriff stepped closer, voice low and firm. You did. Back at the station, everything smelled like cold coffee and stale air. Dana sat in a dimly lit interview room, fluorescent light buzzing overhead. A styrofoam cup of water sat untouched in front of her. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The sheriff, Dale Mercer, laid a thick folder on the table and pushed it toward her. His face was unreadable, but his eyes never left hers. You want the truth, he said. This is what we have. Dana hesitated. Then she opened the folder. Photos. Her face, pale and hollow, with sunken eyes and tangled hair. Taken from a distance, supermarket security cam footage, a grainy shot near a motel exit. Another outside a courthouse. Each dated from over a year ago. I don't remember any of this, she said, voice thin. That's what you said when we picked you up the first time, Mercer replied. You were found wandering Route 8 barefoot, talking to yourself. You've been missing for 4 days. He slid a report toward her. Dana's name was scrawled across the top. She skimmed it. Incoherent speech, paranoid behavior, apparent fugue state. Her diagnosis, dissociative identity disorder. Dana blinked. No, it was amnesia. Dissociative amnesia. That's what Dr. Reynolds said. Mercer leaned back. Dr. Reynolds hasn't had a license to practice medicine since 2019. He was institutionalized after his clinic was shut down. Patient abuse. Experimental treatments. Dana stared at him. No, she whispered. Yes, Mercer said. You were one of his last patients. Your therapy records? Gone. We believe he was using trauma retrieval techniques, dangerous ones. Illegal. Dana felt her lungs collapse. Like she was underwater, kicking toward the surface and only sinking deeper. What happened to my daughter? She asked, barely above a whisper. Mercer's jaw tightened. That's what we've been trying to figure out. He pulled out another photo. Isabel, maybe 3 years old, smiling with frosting on her nose. A birthday. Dana in the background, holding a balloon, mid-laugh. You told a judge your husband was abusive, that you feared for her safety. But before the custody hearing, you disappeared. The court assumed you'd run. Fled the state. Dana touched the photo, fingertips trembling. I don't remember any of this. None of it. Mercer gave a long sigh. 3 months later, a hiker found a child's shoe at the edge of Coyote Bluff, near the lake. Never found a body. The case went cold. Dana felt something inside her tear. Like a fabric too worn to mend. I would never hurt her. I hope that's true, Mercer said, rising. But you need to understand something. We don't know which version of you we're talking to right now. There's missing time. False statements. Contradictions. He paused at the door. And the house you went back to? It was the last place Isabel was seen alive. As the door shut, Dana clutched the photo and felt her throat tighten. And then she heard it again. A child's voice, faint, behind the walls. I'm still here, Mommy. Mercer didn't hold her. Not yet. There was no warrant, no new evidence. Just a woman with a broken mind and a house full of ghosts. He dropped her back at Crimson Ridge with a warning in his eyes. You leave town, we'll find you. Don't go digging unless you're ready to know. The words echoed as she stepped back inside. The house felt colder than before, like it had exhaled in her absence. The kind of stillness that wasn't peace, but waiting. She shut the door behind her. The drawing, the stuffed rabbit, the torn photo, all still there. Dana didn't trust the cops. She didn't trust herself. But there had to be something real, something concrete to hold on to. She started tearing through the house again. Closet floors, drawer backs, crawl spaces. In the basement, behind the furnace, her fingers caught a groove in the brick wall. A loose panel. Inside, a cardboard box sealed with duct tape. She yanked it out, heart thudding. She took it upstairs, tore it open on the kitchen table. VHS tapes. 9 of them, each labeled in shaky handwriting. Dana 1. Dana 2. Dana 3. Dana 9. No dates. No explanation. She didn't own a VHS player. But the thrift store in town did. 40 minutes later, she sat in her living room, the borrowed machine wheezing as it loaded the first tape. Static. Then, her face. Pale. Tired. Speaking directly to the camera. If you're watching this, the recorded Dana said, you're starting to remember. Or trying to. Dana leaned forward, numb. The woman on screen gave a haunted half-smile. This is version 3. I don't know what number you are. Could be 5. Could be 6. We lose track. But I made these to help you to help us. Dana's mouth went dry. I know what you've been told. That you're sick. That you have dissociative amnesia. That your memories are too painful to recover. The woman's eyes darkened. But that's not the truth. The truth is worse. She glanced off-screen. Then back. You didn't just forget Isabel. You buried her. We all did. Dana clutched her knees, rocking. The tape continued. There were at least 4 personalities. I don't know how many survived. Some protected us. Some lied. And one of us hurt her. Dana screamed and yanked the tape from the machine. She curled up on the floor, heart in her throat. Her mind reeled, pieces clicking into place, things she never wanted to see. She hadn't just lost time. She created someone to survive it. The door creaked open behind her. She turned sharply, nothing. Except now, the drawing on the fridge had changed. Same figures. Same house. But now, the man had a face. Her own. The next two tapes were worse. On Dana 4, the woman on screen, her face thinner, her eyes more erratic, was screaming at the camera. Not in fear. In rage. You don't deserve to forget. You did this. You made me to carry it because you were too fucking weak to hold it. She clawed at her scalp. Blood smeared the lens. Then she laughed. She's not gone. She never was. Tape 5 was silent. Just footage of the backyard. The same 30 seconds on loop. Wind through dead trees, a plastic swing creaking. And beneath it, a mound of disturbed earth. Barely noticeable. But there. Dana shut it off. Her thoughts buzzed like wasps. The lines between past and present blurred until they overlapped completely. She couldn't tell what day it was. Couldn't trust what she saw. She scrawled notes across the walls, dates, names, phrases that popped into her head like echoes. The man with no face is you. Check the mirror closet. Isabel never left. At 2:17 a.m., the whisper returned. Only this time, it wasn't a whisper. It was a shriek. You let me die. Dana woke on the kitchen floor, bleeding from the nose. Her hands were covered in dirt. She didn't remember going outside. The screen door was ajar. Mud tracked across the linoleum. She followed it to the backyard. The plastic swing swayed in the still air. She stepped closer. There, just beneath it, was the ground she'd seen in the tape. Disturbed. Uneven. She ran to the shed, grabbed a shovel, and began to dig. The earth was hard. Frozen. But she kept going until her arms gave out. Until she hit something solid. Not wood. Metal. A lockbox, old and rusted. She pulled it free, collapsed to her knees, and pried it open. Inside. A child's shoe. Tiny. Pink. Covered in faded stars. A pair of handcuffs, smeared with dried blood. A notebook. She opened it. Page after page in a child's handwriting. Today I hid under the bed again. Mommy says I'm not real when she gets tired. But I know I am. I know I am. Other mommy is mean. She says the dark keeps me safe. But I don't like the dark. Please let me out. Dana dropped the book and ran inside, screaming. In the hallway mirror, she caught her reflection, and it blinked when she didn't. She backed away, breath gone. And in the mirror, the other her smiled. Not a cruel smile. A knowing one. And whispered. She's still here. But not for long. Then the reflection lifted a finger to its lips. Shoo. The police came at dawn. They found Dana curled on the living room floor, clutching the pink shoe to her chest, whispering, I didn't mean to. Over and over. Sheriff Mercer didn't speak right away. He crouched beside her, gently pried the shoe from her hands, and looked into her eyes. I need to show you something, he said quietly. Dana followed him outside. Another cruiser waited by the tree line. A deputy waved them over, standing beside a square of earth at the far edge of the property. A concrete slab, cracked down the middle. Recently unearthed. Mercer nodded to the deputy, who stepped aside. The sheriff knelt, pushed the slab open. A staircase descended into darkness. No record of this in the blueprints, Mercer said. We only found it after your tip. We think someone built it after the house was sold. Dana didn't breathe. She stepped down into the black. The air smelled of mildew and something older, like grief made physical. At the bottom, a room. 8 by 10. No windows. A child's bed. A tiny bookshelf. One light bulb, dead. Crayon drawings covered the walls. And on the far side, scratched deep into the brick, a message. My name is Isabel Whitmore. I am real. Dana fell to her knees. She remembered. Not all at once, not a movie reel, not a clean download, but impulses. Visceral, fragmented. Like lightning bolts through the skull. She'd brought Isabel here to hide her. From him. Her ex-husband, she remembered now. The trial. The threats. The court siding with him despite the bruises Isabel had come home with. She hadn't run to protect herself. She'd run to protect Isabel. But something had fractured inside her, the terror, the pressure, the hopelessness. She had made her the other Dana. The protector. The one who could do what she couldn't. And that one had locked the child away. Not out of cruelty. Out of fear. Out of love, twisted into horror. The goal was always to keep her safe. But the personalities lost touch with time, with reason. And then she forgot. Forgot there even was a child. Isabel had lived in that room. For how long? And then, one day, she stopped living at all. That was the final truth. Dana had come here, tape after tape, trying to remember. Each time getting closer. Each time, her mind splitting again before she could face what she'd done. Creating new layers. New selves. But now, there was no one left to protect her. No one left to hide the truth. She stood in the silence of the room and whispered, "I'm sorry." Outside, Mercer waited with the cuffs. He didn't read her rights. She didn't ask. As he led her to the car, Dana looked back at the swing, still moving in the morning wind. A faint sound carried on the breeze. Laughter, then silence, and then nothing. Just the house, waiting for its next secret.